The biggest free agent move of the day comes from the coaching ranks. The Knicks have hired two-time Coach of the Year Mike Brown. James Edwards III covers the Knicks for The Athletic. He reports that Coach Brown has faced pressure before, but this time might be different. Edwards joins us now. All right, James, can you elaborate further on some of your points in your article as to why the pressure will be different for Mike Brown, whose first job was coaching LeBron James to his first NBA Finals appearance almost 2 decades ago?
I think everybody knows just how kind of wide and starved this New York Knicks fan base is. One of the largest fan bases, not just in the NBA, but in professional sports. And they haven't won a title in 50-plus years. So that in itself is pressure. But when you dig a little deeper, the Knicks have basically said in firing Tom Thibodeau that getting to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years wasn't good enough. So whoever they were going to hire, as we've learned now, will be Mike Brown, was coming in with the expectation of getting this team to the finals and beyond. And that's just not a normal situation for somebody to step into. There's a lot of pressure with that, whether it's all going to be on him, whether it's going to be on the front office now who made the call. There's a ton of pressure coming into this situation, given where the Knicks finished this past season.
I mean, you mentioned that pressure. We got to say the name in the room, Tom Thibodeau. Led the Knicks to the conference finals for the first time in 25 years, was jettisoned. So what does Mike Brown bring to the table that Coach Thibodeau apparently did not?
I think one thing that they were looking for was wider collaboration. And I think that they were very much pleased with what Brown brought to the table in that regard, whether it was what he discussed in those meetings or what he's done in the past. Obviously, he's worked alongside some of the best coaches in the NBA. He's had some really good staff. So the collaborative effort is something that they really wanted. They liked his leadership, talking to players he's played for and people that have been around him. They liked the way that he leads a program. Not to say that Tibbs didn't do that, right? But there's certain characteristics that they were looking for when they were going to move on from Tom Thibodeau. And they believe that they found those in Mike Brown, who has won 4 titles as an assistant and associate coach, been to the NBA Finals as a head coach, turned the Kings around. Obviously, he's had lack of success too with LA. He's seen it all in this league. Good coach who has a lot of experience, and that's what they were looking for in the replacement of Tom Thibodeau.
And it was a long search. Took over a month for the Knicks to hire Mike Brown after moving on from Thibodeau. Why such a long delay?
Well, the big thing with them is they weren't bidding against anybody. They were the only team in the NBA looking for a head coach. There was no rush in that regard. They were able to, as we all saw, call around to other teams to see if they could speak to their coaches. They even had a conversation with Dawn Staley in South Carolina. Then they talked to assistants like Mike Inori, Sean Sweeney, James Borrego. And then they obviously had Mike Brown circled at the top of this search, knew he would be available, brought him in for 2 separate interviews, and they walked away feeling that he was the right guy for the job.
Well, I tell you what, Mike Brown also has 2 new guys on this roster, Jordan Clarkson and Yabusele coming over from the 76ers. What do those 2 guys bring to the table when they were on the floor for Mike Brown and the New York Knicks?
Yeah, Jordan Clarkson's a professional scorer. Fills up the bucket from the bench. The Knicks bench wasn't played much last year, but even then they were kind of lacking natural shot creation, a guy who could go get a bucket off the dribble from all 3 levels. And Jordan Clarkson, while he has flaws, is a good player and is able to fill up the stat sheet. It gives him versatility. He can play alongside Jalen, provide some size. He can play alongside Deuce McBride, provide some size. Then Yabusele, interesting guy, 6'8", forward center combo. Knicks really didn't have that type of archetype of player when you factor in that he shot 38% from 3 last year. Has the potential to space the floor. I'm not going to call him a floor spacer yet. Needs to do it for multiple seasons before I go there. But again, the Knicks weren't the biggest team last year. If you look at the roster, when Mitchell Robinson came back and he was in the rotation, Mitch was the only person 6'8" or taller in the rotation. That off the bench. So now you add Yabusele to that. It gives a little more size, a little more versatility, a guy that can knock down a shot and guard multiple positions. So given their limited financial situation, I think they did a good job of making the most of it and adding Jordan Clarkson, who was bought out and kind of fell into their lap, and being able to convince Yabusele to sign with them.
James Edwards III from The Athletic, thank you for breaking things down with us.
Appreciate you guys having me. I wanted to say what up to Smitty. Tell him I said go green.
I will.
Thank you.
Spartans stick together. You know they don't shoot. We're everywhere. You wanted to be a Spartan, didn't you?
It's a little cold up there.
That's my favorite writer at the Athletic.
Is it? Because he got the Sparty hat on. Is that what it is?
He got that smoothness, that Michigan, he's from Flint.
We're going to stick with Sparty here.
Yes.
Ready for this? Maybe not the best news. Grizzlies, they've been active this offseason so far, including that deal for Jaren Jackson Jr., 5-year, $240 million extension. But unfortunately, this news underwent surgery, will be reevaluated in 12 weeks for turf toe. So, Smitty, when you look at Jaren Jackson Jr., the timing of this right now, 12 weeks, 3 months, how will that affect the start of the season for him?
Well, all players want to have that summer to work on their craft, to get a chance to get rest, to get healed up. And I think for him he's added something every year, rebounding the basketball a little bit better, posting up. I thought the year without Ja, where they made him play the center spot, it got him in a situation where he started banging more. He's gotten bigger and stronger. He was working more on posting up. Unfortunately, it's 12 weeks, but at least it's early enough it won't affect the entire season, just the start of it. But sometimes you just want to have that, Ryan, mentally, want to be able to go right when everybody else is going. But he will work, and I think he will come in, and I think this is the year he even goes to another level.
Ryan, there were so many questions after the Desmond Bane trade to Orlando as to what's next for Memphis. Are they going to move Ja Morant? Is Jaren Jackson Jr. on the move? That doesn't seem to be the direction for the Memphis Grizzlies. So now that we've gotten to this point, a couple of days into free agency, what is the direction for the Memphis Grizzlies going forward?
I think they're going to mirror what the Indiana Pacers just did, Chris, with 2 stars making max money in Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., and then more depth around those guys. Trading Desmond Bane was a big blow, but we've seen recently teams with the big 3-star model, going back to the Brooklyn Nets when KD was there, Phoenix again with Kevin Durant, and then most recently in Philadelphia. That hasn't worked, and I think in this harder cap era, it's really tough to build your roster that way. So clearly, with the move, sending Desmond Bane down to Orlando and creating cap space to renegotiate and extend Jaren Jackson Jr. In addition, Chris, re-signing Santi Aldama, bringing in Ty Jerome from the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Memphis Grizzlies have shown they're going for it. They're not going through a rebuild. They're just looking for more depth and building around their 2 stars, Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr.
Well, as you mentioned, guys signing on the dotted line or agreeing the terms, as you will. Look at the free agent market. Here are some front court players who are still available. Ryan, when you look at the list, who do you believe has the most value to contending teams of these guys?
Al Horford for sure, and I think that's the main reason the Golden State Warriors really haven't done anything of note, Chris. I think they're sitting back and waiting. I think he'd be a perfect fit. We know what Boston's doing. They're taking kind of a gap year, ironically, like the Warriors did a few years ago when they had the injuries to Steph and Clay and Draymond, and there were some questions. Would Golden State be able to come back out of that and win a championship? Well, they did that a few years later. I think Boston's trying to do something similar. Al Horford, still a terrific player, one of the most versatile bigs in the league with his defensive ability and his floor spacing ability. We know he's a no-maintenance guy off the court, a high-character guy in the locker room. So it seems like the Warriors are just waiting. And, Smitty, it seems to me things are lining up for Golden State with the Lakers taking care of their center spot. I don't know where else Al Horford would go unless he returns to Boston. So I think the Warriors are in great shape.
Ryan, I totally agree. I think this is a perfect fit. I mean, the way he plays the game defensively, you have 2 guys, and it's a lost art, communicators, him and Draymond Green, barking out defensive assignments. He can knock down the 3. He can handle the basketball. He can do the dribble handoff, defends at extremely high level. I think this is a perfect fit for him. But if you're Al Horford, you want to make sure. Also, the Lakers might need a center. Don't know if he'll go there, but I think this is a fit. If I had my choice, I want him to come to the Detroit Pistons. He played his high school basketball in Michigan. He needs to come on home, but I don't know what Al wants to do.
Tampering by Smitty here on the Free Agent Fever set. How about Atlanta Hawks All-Star Trae Young tweeting this hourglass? Ryan, I don't know. I saw this and I'm like, I feel like the Hawks have been very active. What do you see when you see this from Trae Young?
I see a missing dollar bill wad next to it because Trae Young is extension eligible. He has 2 years left on his contract, Chris. Makes $46 million this season, but next year is a player option at $49 million. So he can be extended. He's seemingly waiting on the extension. We know Atlanta's been extremely aggressive this offseason, bringing in Kristaps Porzingis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They're one of my big offseason winners so far. In fact, they may have had the best offseason of any Eastern Conference team so far. But Trae Young wants to get paid. And organizationally, Smitty, it's risky if you let him play it out because he can opt out and theoretically leave in free agency next year if he's not extended.
I'm with you. I like what they've done this summer. I mean, you look at that roster right now, especially the East is wide open. They have a good chance to be in one of the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference. The missing piece is Trae Young. I think you got to come out there and give him his extension because without him, this doesn't go. And I don't know where else you can go get another guy at a Trae Young level that's not already tied up with another team.
Yes, certainly very interesting to see Trae Young in this moment tweet that. We don't know the meaning, but they could have different directions he's going there. Up next, Dame, maybe without a team, but he still made an announcement. Find out next what that is. California Classic Summer League on NBA TV starts this weekend. A double dose of the second overall pick, potentially Dylan Harper, as he's scheduled to play Saturday and Sunday on NBA TV, potentially making his Spurs debut Saturday at 4:30. Bronny also scheduled to play. Let's hear from him on his dad's future.
When you've talked about team stuff with him, I mean, that's just a weird thing, right? Your teammates, in addition to that, when you guys have talked about the direction of the franchise and stuff like that, have you gotten the sense that this is where he wants to be?
We don't really talk about it much, but I think when stuff like that does come up, he just tells me to not worry about it, not even pay attention to it, just lock in what you have going on right now. And that's what's going to get me better and say, keep me focused. So I think it's good that he, tells me to not pay attention to that stuff. So.
Well, Damian Lillard also has released a signature shoe. For the first time, the price is under $100. Smitty, cool that he's making it affordable for the kids out there.
I love this from Dame. Affordable, and obviously he's had 10 years of his signature shoe. Dame is just one of those players that gets it. I mean, he loves the community, and you can see by this gesture right here. And I definitely want to support him just because of what he's doing in the youth. You get a chance to go out there and get a high-quality guy's signature shoe for under $100. That is pretty big. They are creeping up to the threes when you start talking about some of these shoes. So kudos to Dame Lillard. I think this is beautiful what he's doing.
Yeah, great to see him out there. Hopefully it's a great recovery as well for Damian Lillard. Ryan, great show. Great having you here this entire week. And maybe the free agency fever, it continues tomorrow. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Ryan needs a raise. He was no low management.
Steve Smith,
no low management.
Getting paid by the hour,
we
right?
appreciate you.